Arcade1up is back from the dead, but the basic fun by a lemon. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel on another episode of This Week, the show where we talk about what happened this weekend, home arcades and retro gaming, episode 209. Hi, how's it going? Hopefully everybody's having a great, what's hopefully a long week of vacations and eating good food and presents and doing as little work as possible for most of you. Anyway, at least those of us over here in the States. Christmas is coming, just around the corner. It's merely a few days away, less than a week away, and I'm really excited. I think everybody out there is also excited, not so much for just the gifts, which are great and super fun and awesome, but the giving of the gifts, which is probably a little bit better depending on your age, you know, and also the time spent with family, the time off, the friends. It's just a great time of year. It's a fun time of year. It's a good time to look back at the year and discuss all the things that went right, the things that went wrong, which we're going to be doing that this week. Tomorrow, we're going to kick off the first night of the 5 daars of streaming. We do this every year around Christmas time, between Christmas time and New Year's. We're going to do it all this week. So you're going to get all you want of me. But if you get bored throughout the week, you'll be able to stop by and have a drink with me. What am I drinking tonight? I am drinking this. I'm going to go with something, not just bourbon tonight. We're going to go with the old-fashioned cocktail. This is a premix done by Bullet Bourbon. You can pick these things up if you're not sure about how to make an old-fashioned or any particular drink, and you want to just buy something pre-mix. You usually can't go wrong with you go with one of the big bourbon makers or big cocktail maker, or I guess whiskey makers of whatever cocktail you're going for. So like Manhattan's, old-fashioned, stuff like that. And this is pretty good for a premix. It's not bad if you want to just change things up just a little bit. So cheers, everybody, and happy almost over 2025. Let me know in the comments section. Let me know in the chat what you're drinking tonight. Let me know if you got plans for Christmas. Let me know if you're home, you're done. Did you take vacation starting Monday? So Friday was your last day and you got a good 9 days off. I want to know all about it. I hope that's the case because we all deserve it. Man, it's been a hell of a year. It has been a hell of a year. So talked about the drink. Let's talk about the other thing we do every single week. That is the poll question. Every single week, we have a poll question up in the live chat. If you're watching live, you can jump in there and you can vote. This week is no different. This is the question. I'm going to click on it and let me tell you. So here's a question. It may require a little bit of explanation. So let me just tell you the question. We'll go through the answers in detail. So Basic Fun has purchased some of Arcade1up. We'll talk about that in just a second. What do you think this means for home arcade? You got 4 choices. Okay, so does this mean we're getting new games and new cabs? So new games, new cabinet designs, you know, just like the best of both worlds, right? It's just new everywhere. That's your first choice. Second choice is kind of a mix of new games and then old games kind of coming back and rehashes, but we're getting a new, like almost a 50-50 mix. And then your third option is going to be all the same games, just maybe in different cabs, which is kind of what we've seen so far. And then, of course, the last option is the death of home arcade has merely just been delayed. So for the pessimist in you, you got an option. But anyway, 52 votes so far. Jump up there. I want everybody to vote. I want your voices to be heard so that we can talk about that at the end of the show. Let me just jump over here real quick. I don't know why it keeps... Oh, I think because I had a guest last week, and I had this on. Let me just turn that off because you know who I am. We don't need another label on there. Okay, so we talked about the drink. We talked about the poll question. Now we got to talk to you. That's right. The top 10, maybe not, but definitely the first 10. The first 10 comments are going to get highlighted as we do every week here. And coming in number 1, I think, Bob, this may be the first time you've done it, but congratulations. Coming in the number 1 spot. First, nice. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, buddy. Show Gecko is coming in hot. I owe him $5. I do believe. On a Cowboys game. Imagine that. I lost. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas indeed. Nova Sonic is coming in the number 3 spot. You can hear my voice kind of failing, guys. I apologize. I'll just have to drink more. That's all. Getting over a little bit of a sickness, but I might. Merry Christmas, Fox. I just wanted to acknowledge the sudden passing of beloved YouTuber Lamar Wilson. Please reach out to friends and loved ones for help if you're going through something. Sadly, Lamar took his own life, and that's just something we just can't be happy with. We can't allow, right? We got to take every opportunity to, if we see a friend that maybe is struggling, to reach out and just say, hey, just thinking about you, and how can I help? And I don't want you to go through anything alone, especially this time of year, which unfortunately is when these things kind of happen more often. It's really, really sad. So if there's anybody on your heart or on your in your thoughts, and you think that maybe you might want to, like I haven't talked to them in a while, just say hi. Just reach out and say hi. A text message, a Facebook message, and just say, hey, listen, just kind of, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I've been thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. Sometimes it's just little things like that that can keep people's spirits up. And, do what we can, right? That's all you can do. Coming in, oh, look, we got that Kevin Clausen supporting the channel as always, gifting a membership. Members participate in the after show every single week. We have an after show. Most weeks we have an after show when I'm feeling good or when the Cowboys ain't playing. And we talk about all things either related or unrelated to home arcade. And it's an after show you can take part of if you are a member. It's only $5 a month, just one tier. And it's a great way to support the channel. Kevin, I appreciate you continuing to gift memberships. That is awesome, brother. Sir Sega coming in the number 4 spot. Yo, Fox, hope all is well. Merry Christmas, everyone. Kevin Clausen, you're going to go ahead and get the number 5 spot, buddy. Yes, Fox. Basic Fun did buy a lemon, and they feel pretty bitter, sweet about the deal. And they got squeezed on the deal. You have met your maximum for puns, so we're going to have to write that down. One more, and you're going to be put in timeout. You have to stand in the corner. Think about what you've done. Coming in the number 6 spot is Thumper Squid. What's going on, buddy? Hello, wonderful gamers. Frank D is coming in the number 7 spot. Tacos for dinner. There you go. Why wait till Tuesday? Coming in the number 8 spot is Angelo P. What's going on, buddy? Evening, Fox and chat. Just barely made it in time to wrap up the top 10 for 2025. Coming in the number 9 spot is JJ. What's going on, buddy? Good evening, everyone. And Little Alien, you're going to go round out the top 10, the first 10 comments. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. We also have B. Kirby in the house. We have Video Game Vegas, David Dimmings. The Retro Rosie 80s. Always good to see you over in UK. Can't always watch us live, but thank you so much for commenting early. That is awesome. Missed the top 10, but still caught the chat. Hope you are all well and having a great Sunday, folks and folkses. That's the female folks is what that is. Thank you so much for being here. The B Me is also here. It's me, A2. Good to see you, as always. Shogun. Sorry, the voice killing me. Josh Jennings is also here. John Fritz. We have Michael B saying Merry Christmas, everyone. God bless us, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, Mike. S. Shrek is also here. Satoshi Matrix 1. Sure. I hope I got that right. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Gramps Arcade. We got Marine 50.1. We got LOL God 9623. A Tran Fanatic is also here. J Rod up in his house is real. Gaming is also here. We got the Saved by Zero. New user random 1. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. The Real Zim is also here. I think we got the MSU Rich. There we are. C Marvel 360. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you as always. Scrolling down here, also we got the Little Alien. We got a $10 super chat from Marine 50.1. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and all that great stuff. And $10 goes a long way. It goes all the way down to the pit.
Finish him. Melina wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
I think we've said hi to most everybody. If I did, oh, here we go. We got my Mad Gear Gaming. I'm sorry, Mad Gear Arcade 4274. Thank you so much for being here. Tony C is also in the house. Did we grab everybody? I think I said hi. I hope Triumph or Die. What's going on, buddy? Always good to see you in the house. Man, we got a lot of people jumping in. Gallagher Guy is here. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, my friend. Bourbon will help your throat. Drink more. That advice has no downside. Literally no downside. There we are. Mode is also here. I came for the football talk. You bastard. Yeah, well, I tell you, that Seattle game, that was just a crazy game. That was a crazy game. The 2-point conversion call, and then I just watched the Steelers and the Lions play, and that was coming down to the wire. I thought that was going to be another one of those calls that end up reversing something or causing something. I mean, the last play of the game was nuts, but unfortunately, the Lions just couldn't get it done. And it's very sad. It's all very, very sad. Moat is a wonderful, wonderful man. He's a god among us. Go Panthers. Who freaking would have thought the Panthers would be as tough as they are, man? Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy times indeed. And yes, we will pause for one moment and acknowledge that my pathetic Cowboys have been eliminated. And probably you could have said that week 1. Okay, everybody, buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to rely on y'all to kind of help me out. I want to get some feedback, everybody, and let's go ahead and slide into the first topic. First topic, kind of the only topic, but I did want to cover something real quick. Last minute purchases. I'm not a fan of the Basic Fun Ultras, but I know these things that people are out there. They want to get them. I know Star Wars hits everybody in a special place, so you want to get one. I understand. I get it. So if you're going to buy one, Walmart's got the best prices on all the Ultra cabs from Basic Fun. They're all $4.49. I think that I sure as hell am not going to pay $5.99 for these things. They should probably be $3.99, honestly, with the features that they have. But $4.49 is probably the best price I've seen out there. If you want to get one, go there and save yourself some money. That's just a last minute, I guess gift idea or purchase or whatever. They all seem to be in stock at that price. I don't recommend buying them. Really, I think that if you're going to buy one, that's a good price, but I don't really necessarily think that you should because of the main topic that we're talking about tonight, which is the semi sort of kind of purchase of Arcade1up by Basic Fun. What does all of this mean? So for about 19 or 20 years, we've been talking about Arcade1up's dying. Okay, all right, maybe a slight exaggeration. We've been talking about Arcade1up dying for a very long time. I said this is the longest recorded death in human history. It's been, it's like that old relative. You're waiting to die so you can collect that life insurance money. That's the vibe I've been getting about Arcade1up for the past 2 years. It's just been, I even made videos talking about how, Arcade1up is dead. It's like, come on, quit talking about it. They're not dead. They may eventually die someday, but it's not anytime soon. And now everybody collectively lost their minds when we heard about the potential sale of one Arcade1up, and then it was confirmed this week. So now everybody said, now they're super dead, totally dead, even though I thought they were just mostly dead. It appears that they are, in fact, still only mostly dead. In fact, not really dead at all, sort of coming back to life. What am I talking about? Well, here we go. Let's just shed a little light onto the subject with a $2 super chat from Kevin Clausen. OneUp has been dying since the inception of arcades. They've been dying since death was invented. Thank you so much for your $2 super chat, brother. Here you go. Let's go. Wolverine win. Rookie. Yeah, they've been dying for a very long time. It's been going back and forth. So this is what we're talking about today. So I sent emails to Arcade1up. I got something back from their customer support. James Hates Everything did the same. A lot of people reaching out to different. I also had a couple different emails out there waiting, never got responses back. I think finally Arcade1up got the message. They took the hint and said, we need to actually address this sooner rather than later. So here is a statement that they brought out. And I think that we need to, I posted it when it came out and everybody else talked about it, but I want to talk about it tonight. because it doesn't just say, hey, we got sold, peace out, bro. No, they didn't say that. Of course, that doesn't sound very corporate, but still, you know what I'm talking about. Let's just go over the statement real quick. It says we want to address a few questions that have been circulating about the Arcade1up product lines. Basic Fun has acquired select assets of Arcade1up and intends to support, to the best of our ability, the home arcade category and existing Arcade1up products currently in the market. It's a very wordy way of saying Basic Fun has purchased some of their assets, but don't worry, we plan to support the products we got out there for the foreseeable future. They go on to say this asset acquisition reflects our ongoing commitment to expanding our presence. That's a funny way of saying it. Well, we sold off some of our stuff so we could expand our presence. I think you're lying. I don't think you mean what you think you mean. Supporting current Arcade1up titles and products alongside our existing arcade offerings. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. By selling off your assets, you're going to be forced to support them with some parts, maybe, but you're not expanding by selling. If you have a collection of whatever, games, comics, whatever, and you sell some of them, that doesn't mean you're expanding. That means you're selling off assets. That's what that means. We'll have more to share in the new year, which is that's an important thing. Hopefully they will actually issue more of a formal statement, in the new year, but I don't know that we're necessarily going to get that. We're not stockholders in the company, but we're going to see. I think our information is going to come from the products and the way that they're presented and the names and the labeling on some of these boxes. This is kind of where I'm going, V Bandit. This is what we're going to get into. Maybe this means that Arcade1up is keeping Infinity Game Table. What assets have they sold? What assets have they purchased? So it is interesting when you consider you got this going on at the same time you got this going on. So when did Basic Fun make the decision? When were the talks ongoing while their Ultra line was being produced? Because there's a couple ways to think about this. If they've just acquired some assets, Basic Fun has acquired some assets. This was their first stab at it. Come on, mouse. There you go. This was their first stab at it. A Ultra cabinet that I think failed on many important levels, missing some important features, but wasn't a bad shot, right? Wasn't a bad first swing at the whole thing. I think the price really screwed them over, but wasn't a bad attempt. But now that you've got the purchase of some assets, now what are we looking at? What are we talking about? So there's a couple things to consider. It wasn't a total buyout of the whole company. So where are we going? What are we talking about? I think that it's going to shake out something like this. What are they currently producing now? They're producing these Ultra cabs. So I think it's going to be something like this. If you're making cabs, if you're Basic Fun and you're looking at like, okay, we got some stuff out there. We're doing all right. But what do we really want to purchase? What assets would we really be interested in? We'll look at their current deluxe offerings. Now you can't find, it's hard to find a Time Crisis. I don't know if they're even out there. You can't really find them, but they did just come out with the T2. The Buck Hunter is still, I think, a good seller for them. I think it's still doing well. And you got, this is in addition to all the other deluxes, but these are the deluxes that stand out as far as control schemes. And then you have Golden Tee. So right there's 4 assets that you really want to get your hands on, because what does Basic Fun not have? They don't have a gun game. They don't have a trackball game. Not necessarily. They got the Atari one, but they don't have one that's specifically focused on that being the primary game control function. And that will be, I think, if you're Basic Fun and you're looking at buying assets, you're not necessarily looking at buying the same thing you already have. You want to expound and expand upon that. And if you can, with the stroke of a pen and some money, pick up all this, which is basically send in light gun technology built into 3 of these cabinets. Well, right off the bat, boom, now you've got a product that you don't have to do any R&D for. You don't have to worry about acquiring some kind of different light gun technology or trying to get a separate deal from Sinden. You buy it all. That's where you focus. And then, of course, I think a part of this is going to be the rest of the 3/4 scale cabs. I mean, Mortal Kombat, Pac-Man, that's just sort of built in, right? That would absolutely complement everything that they're doing. 199 super chat from Galga Guy. He needs second pour to help his throat. That's right, guys. This is a medical necessity. It's the right thing to do. It's the best thing to do. Yeah, I see no downside. Parts and online is what they've purchased, and probably prototypes that would require licensing. And licensing is a big deal. Oh, congrats on your Seahawks, by the way. They're kicking ass this year, Chris. Looking good. Yeah, I mean, think about those assets that really mean something. Licensing, I think, is some of the big deal. And if you can already pick up something, some of these licenses out there that they've got their hands on that are existing, and just keep going with it, T2 would be a killer. I mean, if they could just start selling the same damn cab, but it's, Terminator, they don't have to change anything and just slap a basic fun sticker on there somewhere and you're good to go. That's a big ad. It's a huge ad. And that's something that just came out. Now, the price, that's going to be in line with what they're currently charging for their Ultras, but you're getting a lot more, in my opinion. You're getting the coin door, you're getting pretty decent little guns. I mean, the ones that I had never really gave me a problem. I had one little issue that I was able to kind of fix, but other than that, they held up pretty good. And if you paint them and add some weights like I did, it can be a solid little gun. Now, I can't say the same about the Time Crisis guns. Those things they're pretty bad. I think they're really bad. It just is what it is. But I think the T2 Get is definitely a good one. But probably the best one is the Buck Hunter. You get the Buck Hunter cab. That's like money. Evidently, that's just like the biggest get you could get right now. Basic Fun, House of Dead, and Marble Madness confirmed. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be incredible? So if you've been watching the channel for a long time, I guess, some of the original leaks that I was a part of, I got contacted by someone that had pictures of prototypes. And, back then Arcade1up was making prototypes of everything. We've seen a lot of those videos and pictures where they would make a cab. They'd make a cab all day long. James Hates Everything was actually able to get his hands on one of those prototypes, the track and field prototype. But one of my early videos, man, I can't remember how long ago this was. This was before T2 came out. There was a prototype of House of the Dead. Yep, absolutely. House of the Dead was something they were obviously working on, and it's not so much about emulation; it's about what they can do on their little PCBs. What can their PCBs pull off? Because the emulation has been out there forever for a lot of these games. What can they really do? Okay, then you get that lockdown. Now the big problem is the licensing. That's to go make it legit. That's the bigger ask. That's the biggest thing. The technical hurdle is not near as vast as that licensing. That's the kicker, man. Hopefully Basic Fun can step it up, produce some great and new quality cabs. That's what I'm hoping. I want new and I want good quality. So is the company Arcade1up dead? Is it only the name that is still alive along with those assets that were bought by Basic Fun? For me, it's always been the word dead. See, when you use the word dead, you insinuate or you signal that they are done, over, complete, finished. And I've always had a problem with that because that really that's like a big deal. That's like a bankruptcy filing and they're done. They're completely dissolved, But even at that point, someone might take those assets and move on. For me, the name, once the name is gone, let's say they went into bankruptcy and some company came in and bought the assets, but they didn't give a damn about the name. The fact that the name will continue on is actually something I didn't predict. I predicted they would sell everything off, but it would still remain like the cabs themselves, some of the hardware itself would remain. But once you kill the name, the brand name, you pretty much squash it all together, and it ends there. But the fact that the name will continue on for me means that Arcade1up is not dead. What they're going to have moving forward, we'll talk about in a minute. But at least in my opinion, as long as that name lives on. Now, if somebody buys it, if they purchase all the hardware, I think at that point it becomes them. It becomes theirs. Like a Basic Fun buys everything, hardware related, software related, everything. It doesn't matter who originally developed it. Basic Fun owns it. And at that point, it's a Basic Fun product. It just is. That's just the way that it is. You may not like it, but it's just the way that it is. And at that point, for that product, Arcade1up wouldn't necessarily be dead. But because they're only buying some of the assets, Arcade1up might just be stuck out there making digital keychains. But at least at that point, they're still alive. Now, a lot of people are alive, but then they're not living a life. You're like, God, man, this is no life to live. But they're still alive. So the way that it sits now, I still don't consider them dead because they're going to live on. They're gonna sell something. Stock Jock, what they're gonna sell, we'll talk about in just a second. At least my opinion. Okay, so your opinion, what you think, B. Kirby, is that they've acquired the assets that they have are all the arcade games, everything arcade, Countercade, Polycade, not Polycade. Sorry, I don't want to upset the Polycade people out there. Partycade, Deluxes, XLs. It's not bad. That's not bad. It makes sense. I mean, that's what I would be interested in if I were Basic Fun. Oh, Basic Fun uses Glenn's buttons and sticks. Maybe a deal can be made for the new Tron XL. Man, I don't think that they'll do it. I think that they'll go cheap as hell. I mean, I'll say this right now. I think Glenn needs to position himself as the premium replacement product. And just understand, I mean, I don't think he needs to sell himself short for Basic Fun or anybody. I think he needs to position himself as direct replacement upgrades, And if they do approach Glenn for some kind of deal, because he got burned in the past, he don't need to take nothing less than what he doesn't need to go a penny less than what he wants. And if I mean, maybe give them a slight deal. Give Basic Fun a slight deal because it does mean more money, right? I mean, bulk sales, but I wouldn't give them a big multiplier. I wouldn't give them a big percentage. I wouldn't give them, I want Glenn to keep his margins pretty big because, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I don't think he should be burned at all. No, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Either you get Glenn's stuff in the cabinet now, or you say, these suck. I would love to get Glenn's stuff later. And when you do it yourself, when the individual user will buy from Glenn, we're going to pay more of a margin, more of a premium. He'll make more money on the sale to the direct consumer than he would have made selling in bulk to Basic Fun. So they're going to want, he's going to make 5% on that, but he's selling a lot of them. Or he's going to make, and I'm just using numbers, I don't know. But he'll make 5, let's say 10% if he sells a whole bunch of stuff to Basic Fun. But he'll make 20% on me and you. I think that's the better way for him to go over the long run. I mean, and he should just flat out on his website just say, boom, you want the best? You want the replacements that actually work? You want a better yoke? Here you go. I think he just keeps doing that. That's my opinion. Because I don't think they're going to be just like 1UP and cut costs. I just hope that they're not like 1UP and, the problem that happened with Glenn is that heaven forbid he took people at their word. My God, what a sin, right? And they did him wrong. And so, that lesson I think has been learned. So I don't think that they couldn't repeat the mistake of the past because Glenn's not going to let that happen. But I don't think that they would. I think that they would be cutting costs, just like Arcade1up. They're not going to try to spend a bunch of money. The money they wanted to spend, they already spent on whatever licenses Arcade1up had left, whatever product, whatever assets that Arcade1up had that were desirable. That's what they spent their money on. So they're going to cut corners on everything else, which is fine. Allow people like Glenn DIY Retro Arcade to come up with better controls, better add-ons, and that way you can get exactly what you want to really fine-tune your experience. In my opinion, I want him to make more money anyway. Okay, would that actually get the send-in license? I would imagine that would be, well, it depends. It depends on the conditions of the license that Arcade1up currently has. So they have license agreements with all the, all the brands, right? So Terminator 2, all that, everything that entails is a license, right? Send in light gun technology that's applied to all the games that Arcade1up has, because every game they use, they implement or they utilize send in light guns. So that would be an asset. Now, I don't know what the restrictions are on that, but I would imagine that would be an asset that they would purchase. But to your point, that would be probably a separate line item. If you're talking about going down the list of items that you want to, the assets you want to acquire, that would be one of them for sure. I need a hottie toddy. That's right. Lottie dottie. Go Hawks. Brother, you have got to be so happy. Every time I see them damn Seahawks play and win, I think of you, my brother. I know you got to be happy about it. I'm feeling okay. It's just a throat. I'm fine. I hope it's not I hope it's not disturbing to everybody else. But I'm feeling good. Wednesday was horrible. Wednesday was really bad. Yeah, smash the like button. Yeah, like the Cowboys smashed their season. Oh my God, that was hurtful. And I read that shit. Fox, yes, they are kicking butt, albeit stressful. Was it the game Thursday and I wanted to have an emotional breakdown? Well, that's welcome to my world. That's what the Cowboys are. I like that the Time Crisis guns are ultra light, can play through the game without the fatigue. Well, that's good. That's good. I have a Time Crisis on PS1 with the Namco light gun. Sweet. I thought that was confirmed to be fake. I don't know which Robotron. That'd be nice. Are you talking about? Let me see. I thought that was confirmed to be fake. Are you talking about? You're talking about the House of Dead? That was not fake. That was it, but that was just a prototype. They made a lot of prototypes, a lot of things that they were making that didn't come to market, and then they quickly close that loophole. So we lost that ability. That's every single time, bud. I do that every single Sunday. You got to be a subscriber for 5 minutes. So you're fine. I don't know why. This is there. It's every week, man. House of the Dead with those Time Crisis guns they had would be terrible. Hope they could. Well, they can do better. We saw what they did with T2. We saw what they did with the T2 guns. If you want to mimic that machine gun action, that's what you want to do. Now, as far as single blowback, I don't know how they can do that on the cheap. That's the problem. That's the way they're going to want to do this on the cheap. For me, though, I got to say one thing that the other than the fact that the game technology doesn't really work, just a vibrating motor. It's like a rumble pack, it's like a vibrating motor in the handle. That's good enough for me because you can hit it once and that'll be it. You don't have the physical blowback. I get it, but just have that, vibrate once, quarter rotation inside that motor, whatever. If you could just get that hum, that vibration every time you pull the trigger, that's fine. And then for a continuous, it just runs constantly. You can still get that sensation, and you don't have to worry about any kind of mechanical, movement of the top of the gun, because if you can't do that well, don't do it at all. If it's all just mechanical, you having to pull through every time you pull the trigger, you're having to pull through the springs just to make the back slide back for what reason? It's just adding fatigue for an effect that doesn't matter. The original guns or the original arcade, that was electrical. You would just pull through that, and it was solenoid would make that action for you. So there wasn't as much you weren't physically pulling through so much mechanical spring tension. But with those guns, it's just not It's not necessary. It just, to me, it's just not necessary. Enforcer guns for the, yeah, there you go. That would be good. Okay, let's see, scroll down. Let's see. Fox, let's be honest. Anything, oh, that sadly, yes. Yes, the Cowboys, I'm it's okay. I'm here for it. Bring it on. I've got big shoulders. I've been going through this crap since 96. So, boom, out your mouth. Okay, Atari is in the name only, not the original company at all. But as long as we get good product, then the name means something. The name itself, I think, it's a mixed bag. When you think Atari, people think of different things. It's obviously not the same company, but it does mean something if a company is willing to purchase that name and keep that name alive. See, if a brand is truly dead, they buy all the assets and they flush the name down the toilet because they don't care about that anymore. Like they don't want their product to be associated with that name. That means the brand is totally dead. Couldn't be any more dead. But if you're buying the company or you're buying an asset and you're retaining the name, well, then that means something. Now, in this case, Basic Fun is buying certain assets away from Arcade1up, but Arcade1up is going to stay alive and sell other things. We'll talk about that in a second, what I think they're going to be selling. So in that sense, Arcade1up itself, the company is still intact. It's still alive. It's just maybe not going to sell anything you and I want. They kept the game board, potentially. Well, that begs the question, right? That begs the question. Are they buying just as assets that they consider valuable? Maybe that's just licensing. And they're going to take over on the physical side. They're going to take over on the construction side, which I don't know if you've been paying attention, but it's not going so well. What we've seen as far as the mechanical construction of these cabinets is like it's a slight downgrade from Arcade1up. The jury was kind of out for me as far as the attachment method, the through bolt method versus the cam lock. Talking to G.I. Joel, I tend to think that maybe that's, as long as you have proper cross bracing, the cam lock situation is fine. The cam locks are good. The strength is not an issue as far as that goes. So I kind of stand corrected on that. I'm going to defer to people that know more than me about that. And I think that maybe that's not a big deal. But the problem for me is the lack of features, the lack of height on some of these cabinets, and the lack of just the control panel overlays, not having a deck protector. I've heard that the yoke is pretty good, but maybe not quite as good as what Arcade1up did. So that doesn't bode well for me as far as quality is concerned. It's great for Glenn. Glenn can make some badass replacement parts, but I think that they're more probably focused on the licensing, and they're gonna just keep making cabinets at their quality level, which is not good. Because I consider them a step down from Arcade1up. Not dead, just in a coma and on life support. It's like a Lifetime movie. In order to win over the community, they need to come out with a new and very recognizable title. Mr. Clutch, you're coming in clutch. I agree with this. Q*bert, Robotron, or even a Nintendo title if they can get the license. Take Nintendo off the table. It's just not going to happen. But yes, Q*bert, Robotron. Some kind of arcade legend that is kind of a deep cut. Q*bert, I think, for me, is a kind of a deep cut. Robotron to another extent, but Q*bert is just not something that's ever had any kind of a real release or translation, or it's never really been. I mean, it's out there. Q*bert was in Wreck-It Ralph, but the game itself has not really seen a bunch of different crazy alterations and HD remakes and stuff, and no sequels or nothing. That's very much an arcade staple. So if they do something like that, that would be a signal to arcade fans that is their focus and that's what they're concerned about. and then we can get into the Robotron, Smash TVs, and all that kind of stuff. And then hopefully we could get even some more deep cuts, some older games, some Atari classics. I mean, things like Road Blasters, where you could take and use that same yoke that they used on their Return of the Jedi cabinet and basically make the same damn cabinet. You could change it slightly to mimic the Atari System 1, and then you could have you could have that. You could have Marble Madness. I mean, stuff like that would be great, but I just don't think that these companies are going to do that. I wish that they would. I wish that they would wake up and realize that you're selling to an older audience that appreciates some of these older games, and just do it. Bite the bullet. For God's sakes, Atari they'll license anything. They whatever. You want a Game Station Go? Knock yourself out. You want a little handheld joystick garbage player? They'll do that too. I mean, you want a badass little Super Pocket? They'll do that too. You tell me that they won't sit there and let you license their System 1 design, shape, and some of those games? I mean, you're probably not going to get, Indiana Jones, but you could get Road Blasters, you could get Marble Madness. That stuff would be great. And that would appeal to all of us in the home arcade, hobby. Will it happen? I have my doubts. There we go. What multiplayer game would you rather have these home arcade companies produce? Quake, The Grid, or Hydro Thunder? Oh my gosh. I think so here, I'll say The Grid because not necessarily of that list. I would kind of lean towards Hydro Thunder, but I say The Grid because The Grid they could pull off in a stand-up cabinet. It's fairly simple controls, right? And Hydro Thunder, unless you're talking about a stand-up version of the driving cabinet, that's best in a sit-down version. So I think to just let them focus on emulation and connectivity, The Grid would be incredible. That would be awesome. Midway, multiplayer, I think that would be cool. And it's a simple stand-up cabinet. You don't have to go crazy with any kind of weird designs. That's where you start, something like that. And then maybe we can get Hydro Thunder. But I will say that I don't want them to try any sit-down versions of any arcade games at all. I want them to do stand-up racers only. I know that sucks for some of us out there that want to sit down, but I think that it's just too complicated. The price would be too high. So they always cut corners. I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see stand-up versions of all these racers. So if it's any number of Midway racers, make the stand-up cabinet version only. Cruising USA, Cruising World, Cruising whatever, stand-up version only. And just focus on that style cabinet, because you can get the height right, you can keep the quality in the wheel, get the rumble steering and all that if you can, and just do that. But for me, for this list, I would say start with The Grid. I know it's kind of a newer game, newer in arcade standards, and go from there. Sega, all day long. I agree 100%. This is not the first time there has been a major regime change at Arcade1up. This will be Arcade1up 3.0. Yeah, it's a little bit different because I feel like assets have been purchased and then taken away from Arcade1up. So instead of a evolution of Arcade1up, this is more of a segmenting of Arcade1up. They're losing assets. The pieces have been cut off and separated. So I think that while you're correct, they didn't cut the mustard back in the day. So you had, Scott and John D, they had to go away. And there was a restructuring, as far as I understand it. This is different. This is selling off a portion of the company. This is selling off assets that are probably going to be now. Will this be are these like the Hell's Bells, the death tolls? This is the first signs of the real death of Arcade1up? I do think so. Because once you start selling off assets, by definition, you're only as good as your assets, right? What do you own? What are your intellectual property? and then once you start parsing off and selling off that, well, you're well on your way to becoming vapor, a thing of the past. And we'll talk about what I think they're going to be left with in a minute. Let me scroll down. Fox, with your throat being sore, this is the perfect week to invite Moat back on and let him. Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all. No, Moat's great. I'd love to have Moat back anytime he wants to come on. And hopefully he'll let me on his show so we can talk about what's going on with his giveaway. Okay, 19 Key Fox, can you please tell me what legs you bought on the bottom of your okay, where did you get them? I got them on Amazon. They are furniture risers, and they are, let me see if I can, Amazon. I'll just I won't share my screen, I don't think, because I got all my personal information on here. Can't do that. But I will share this. There. So you're looking at two different types. Let's see, riser, yeah. When you're talking about okay, so what they're going to be called. So if you have a deluxe cabinet, you're going to want to get the bed risers, 2-inch, 3-inch, and 4-inch, and they're going to flare out at the bottom. And if you have just a man, let me see. Yeah, okay, they're bed risers. They're all bed risers. Okay, my bad. And furniture risers. Okay, so I'm back. If you have a deluxe cabinet, get the bed risers. If you have a anything before the deluxes, like the like the legacy cabs, the original legacy cabs, or like the 3rd gen cabs, you want the bed riser. So there's furniture risers and there's bed risers. There's a difference. But just go on to Amazon and type that in, either bed riser or furniture riser, and then I get the 4-inch versions. But if you're a little bit shorter, you might want the 6-inch versions, whatever. But that's what I have. 4-inch risers on all my cabs. So, boom. There we go. There we go. Let me scroll down. Try to get caught up a little bit. Okay, Israel. It's been an amazing year, guys. And Fox wanted to thank you for the best birthday earlier this year I would ever have. 97. I hope it's still working well for you, brother. I miss that cab, but I'm glad you have it. Absolutely glad you have it. So let's talk about what I think Arcade1up will retain. We talked about what the assets were that left the building. Let's talk about what I think that Arcade1up is going to keep, or maybe what they're stuck with, depending on how you view this. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm hanging in there. Just a little sore throat now, but it's the sickness is gone for sure. Okay. Tramfanatic says, I use an OG Arcade1up riser with a furniture dolly with a game racing seat from the Ridge Racer as well. Cool. So yes, let's talk about what I think that Arcade1up is going to retain. They sold off some assets. I believe that these cabinets are going to be moving on to basic fun. These shooting cabinets, these deluxe cabinets, all the deluxes, Pac-Man's included. It's not pictured, obviously. If they still have the WB Mortal Kombat, if they have that license, that'll be moving over also. Speaking of that, if you are curious about, I don't know if it's still available. Yeah. BJ's Warehouse. Check that out in your area. If you have a BJ's Warehouse, I understand the implication, but that is not what I'm trying to say. That's the actual name of the warehouse. Okay. It's not that. Okay. It's just the name of the warehouse. They've had some great deals. I posted a link on my channel. If you want to go check out the channel later, there was a post that I posted this week. $299 for the Mortal Kombat Deluxe is a crazy good deal. It's an awesome deal. So check that out. If you want to take a look at that. Also, I want to take a look at this $5 super chat from Zero Redux. What's going on, buddy? Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. Please address the last one up standing, SpongeBob. We're going to talk about it right now. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat, brother. I appreciate the support for the channel, and I'm going to give you something. Where is it? Oh, come on. Give me a second. It'll be worth it if I can find it. Where'd I put it? There you go.
Where's that damn torpedo?
She's ready, Jim. Lock and load.
Fire.
There we go. I got to get that one in every once in a while. Okay, so what do I think is left for Arcade1up? Picking up the pieces. What couldn't they sell? Or what did they think was so valuable they needed to hold on to? Check this out. Here's what I think Arcade1up is going to retain. The claw machines. So the original claw machine, the SpongeBob claw machine, I think that's such a recent acquisition for them. They're going to absolutely hold on to that. I know you're going to say, well, Fox, T2 is a pretty good deal. That's a big deal, right? Yeah, but they've had that for a while. This is one of the newer acquisitions for them. So I think that they will hold on to that. I think they'll keep the Infinity Game tables, the Infinity Game products is what they'll probably keep. Things like the photo booth, they're probably going to hold on to that. I think that they're going to be a little less arcade and a little less and a little more just general consumer focused. I think that a claw machine themed in a popular brand would be like what they would sort of think that if you're a company like Arcade1up and you're moving away from the arcade machines that are kind of a niche thing and you want to keep the item that has the most broad appeal, it's going to be things like an Infinity Game table or Infinity Game tablet or whatever. It's going to be like a photo booth. It's going to be a claw machine. It's going to be, I'm not trying to be negative, but it's going to be more of the generic things like that would appeal to the most people. Whereas arcades are sort of, kind of focused on a specific thing. So I think that this is what they're going to retain, in my opinion. This is what you'll see Arcade1up become: the claw machines, the touchscreen board games, and the photo booths. A little more generic, I know, but unfortunately, I think that's what Arcade1up's going to be left with. But what I'm left with is a bunch of great people that give super chats. Like this guy, $5 from Triumph or Die. I bought the Mortal Kombat 2 Deluxe from BJ's yesterday and traded it for three numbskull quarter arcades today. Awesome. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. And I mean, that's actually not a bad deal. 3/4 scale arcades, pretty good. Thank you so much for your super chat, buddy. And I got to give you something special. Here you go. I thought this was good. It's all about perspective, isn't it, bud? All about perspective. So more amusement-based, like foosball, and imagine a wooden home basketball game. I think I can imagine it's like it's a weird spot. I don't think they can even do that because you're talking about Wonderland Amusements kind of doing that, the foosball stuff and that kind of stuff, the non-electronic home arcade or home, I guess, home entertainment stuff. They're going to be a little bit different. They're going to be very much segmented. And to be fair, I don't know that this is all bad news. If you have this competition coming in and maybe they're not competing directly as far as product to product. So what I mean, like, okay, they're not all making foosball tables. Okay. So you don't have 3 companies making foosball tables, but you have 3 companies making home man cave type products, right? So you got like Wonderland is making a mechanical, pinball machine and a foosball table. And then you have Basic Fun making stand-up arcades. And then you have Arcade1up. They're doing a claw machine and they're doing an Infinity Game table. It's like it's rounding out a bunch of different products that could appeal to the same customer. So while they're not competing product to product, they are competing in the same area, in the same genre, category, I guess would be a better term. And I think that that's good. Who gets the casino cade? Nobody. Because nobody wants that stuff. That's garbage. PD7, what's going on, buddy? Great to see you as always. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Okay, so There's one more thing I want to address. I want to talk about. Something we've discussed about. We've talked about it tonight. We've talked about it in other places. What is the status of the name? Arcade1up, the name. We talked about this. Okay, well, Arcade1up got bought. So that means that Arcade Classics now becomes Arcade1up and vice versa. I don't think that's the case. Because Arcade1up is going to continue to exist in some function in some way, all we know for sure by their own admission is that they've sold some assets, not all, not the company as a whole, but some assets. That means that Arcade1up, the name, has to continue because of some of the assets they've retained. So I think that means that Arcade Classics, the name itself, will also continue. So you may see this, but instead of Arcade1up on the Terminator 2, for example, on the kick plate there, you'll see Arcade Classics or you'll say Basic Fun. You're not going to see that name disappear, or you're not going to see this name totally disappear, and there's not going to be this replacement theory that we talked about before, where Arcade1up becomes this sub brand of Basic Fun, because the brand itself was not completely replaced or purchased in totality by Basic Fun, only certain assets. So once again, Arcade1up is not dead. Now, are they going to sell the things you want them to sell? Well, that's the bigger question. And we've talked about this for years at this point. What the direction of Arcade1up was. There was this pinnacle. There was this peak. Okay. At a certain point, we were like, okay, what the hell is Arcade1up making? Are they making something for us, arcade fans, real gamers with a little bit of age, a little bit of experience, or just the kids, who are they making these games for? And we kind of went back and forth, and we saw them making these decisions where we thought that maybe they would now finally they're going to make that deep cut, right? They're going to make that old arcade. They're going to take that old 80s game and bring it back out of obscurity and bring it forward and reintroduce the world to this game. And everybody that loved it is going to continue to love it, and people that didn't know it would have this new appreciation for it. That didn't happen. They regressed and they made claw machines, and we were sort of disappointed. Unfortunately, it's just the way it was. And so that was the way that company that's the way Arcade1up sort of fell. They went safe. And we are where we are now, where that pathway did not net them success in the way that they hoped. How do I know that? Well, because they're selling off assets. So if Basic Fun could take a different trend, take a different path, okay, you saw what Arcade1up did. In the end, it didn't really work out for them, because now here they are selling off bits and pieces of themselves. If Basic Fun can take a different path and actually move beyond and say, okay, we know what we have. We have arcades. We have a fan base that's loyal. If we can sort of be satisfied with maybe a lower unit count as far as sales, like we're not going to sell 10,000, but if we can be happy with 1,000, quantity sales, but we satisfy our fans, and then we lock them in for that second purchase, maybe it's worth it. That will be the tipping point. Now, if they're just going to remain the status quo and make the same stuff that we've seen before, and then eventually just say, oh, we just need to make the same thing again. If they follow the same path, then this will be all for naught. And Basic Fun will be no better than Arcade1up. It's just going to be slightly delayed. They must learn the lessons from Arcade1up, the good lessons and also the bad lessons, and be different and do something more, or they're just going to be the 5-year, plan. It probably less than that, because they won't have the advantage of the pandemic, which locked us all in our homes and limited us to what we could actually purchase and actually, what our priorities were changed significantly. Now, that's never going to be an option. So what are you going to do? If you follow the same path Arcade1up did, you're going to just deteriorate quicker than they did, because we've all been there before. Like I've said, Basic Fun has both the benefit, and the detriment of having Arcade1up existing before. It's like, okay, you got a customer base ready to purchase your products, but we also have preconceived ideas of what the price should be and what we should get for that price. Quality, content, and what that means on a dollar, what that means for my pocket. I think at $500, I should have XYZ. And if you come in at $600 and you don't deliver what I want, I'm not interested. So, it's a blessing and a curse, right? You got this community ready to go. But we also have been here for years, and we know what we're looking for, and we know we know what has been delivered to us in the past. So that sets a precedent. Now, can you live up to that standard or not? Well, that's going to be up to you. That's not up to us. That's up to you. Will you rise above or not? Okay, I want to make sure that I got everybody else's. Okay, so we got B Kirby coming in with a $5 super chat. Once again, thank you for supporting the channel, guys. I really appreciate it. Fox, do you think Tastemakers still owns the brand name? Yes, which is why it's probably not going away, because there's still some products, like I said, these right here, in my opinion, that are under that banner. But if they were to somehow find someone interested in taking those over, then I think that maybe Arcade1up, the name, would either go away. It wouldn't have any value because there's nothing associated with it. Because once they lose the arcades, 3/4 scale cabinets, I think that the value of the name Arcade1up will be greatly diminished, because when you think of an arcade, do you think of this or do you think of this? And the average consumer, when they think of an arcade, even though they may be uninitiated, they may not be diehards, they're probably still thinking about this, like you and I are, and less this. So I think they still own the name, but what's the value of that name? I think it's going down. And if they want to sell the name, they might want to do it sooner rather than later, because I think the value of that name is absolutely going down. Also got a $5 super chat from Bushin Ryu Cat. Thank you so much again for your $5 super chat and continuing to support the channel. It means a great deal to me, guys. Love your gamer tour the other day. Should Evercade get into XL cabs with both original games, cartridge slots for their carts, and lit marquee? I absolutely love the idea of them making even just a 3/4 scale cabinet. I think that Evercade is doing it probably the right way. They're starting with handhelds and a console, and they've moved up to a countercade. And now they're seeing, what are the countercades doing well? Are they selling good? Okay, all right. And now what they have to consider, let's just, I hope this is the case, that they have been happy with the sales of the countercades, which I think they are, because they've come out with a third version, right? They got the Taito version out there. I mean, it's kind of an obscure, weird, it's bubble bobble. I mean, it's kind of weird. But if they're happy with those sales, and they've seen Arcade1up be in this segment, and now they have Basic Fun in the segment, and now fighting for the assets of Arcade1up. If I'm telling you, dude, if Evercade could settle on a design, whatever that design may be, they got to pick something that's just mainstream, low risk. But if it's got a couple cartridge point, like spots on the front there, where I can just put whatever cartridge I want into this 3/4 scale cab, I think they would have an absolute winner on their hands. It would not even be close because of the catalog of games they have. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you come out with. I don't even care if the cabin has any games on it itself. If you just come out with a 3/4 scale cab with a 17-inch monitor with 2 cartridge ports and it's got 5 games on it, whatever, people will buy it up all day long because of the library, the expandability. Because think about it, you're talking about all the cartridges that exist out there, a library of 18 or 20 arcade cartridges, not to mention all the other console cartridges out there. So if you come out with something and you brand it Data East or whatever, and you just kind of mimic the design of an original cabinet, and you have a couple cartridge spots, I mean, dude, it would be insane. I think it would sell like hotcakes. Absolutely. Thank you so much for $5 super chat, brother. Let me give you something a little bit special. And here you go. This one. Yeah, this one. Okay, guys. Fox, stop showing those stupid claw things, please. Come on. What are you talking about? They're the greatest things ever. Yeah, I know. It's tough. Anyway, yeah, so that's I think that's where we're at, guys. I think we have, unfortunately, for all the Arcade1up haters out there, you're gonna have to celebrate some other time because Arcade1up is back from the dead, from the repeated deaths that many of you have claimed have already happened. It's just not. I mean, it will eventually, maybe someday, right? Everything always withers away and dies. But unfortunately, for Arcade1up, that day has not yet come. Would you look at that?
What the hell?
Yo, the sign is real simple, B. It says wrap it up.
Okay, unfortunately, it is that time. We got to go ahead and wrap it up. Members, stay right here. You're going to be automatically redirected to the after show where I'm going to talk about everything. I'm going to use bad words. It's going to be crazy. You don't even know. But what you do know is that you got to become a member to be a part of it. I do want to say a special thanks to everybody who came out. I know it's Christmas time. I know there's a lot going on. The super chats mean a great deal. It really does help out the channel, and it keeps me going, keeps me inspired to come on and do a show with a horrible voice. And I thank you for putting up with me. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so before we go, we got to talk about the poll question. Let's go ahead and jump over here. Let's click that. We have 110 votes. Congratulations, guys. Thank you so much for voting in the poll. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll right now. I'm going to take a quick little picture so that we can, boom, take that. Let me scroll down real quick. This is, okay, let me just take a picture of that so we have it. And there we go. Boom. Okay, so the question was this week. So Basic Fun has purchased some of Arcade1up. What do you think that means for home arcade? Okay, so you had 4 options. Coming in the 4th spot was the same games but in different cabs with only 14% of the vote. Coming in at number 3 was Death Has Only Been Delayed with 22% of the vote. Wow. A lot of doomsday sayers. I think I went right there with you. So which one won out? Coming in the number 1 spot with 39% of the vote, a slim margin when you think about it, is a mix of new and rehashes. So, okay, that's probably about the, middle of the road position. I think that everybody could probably be happy with that for the most part. I hope that that's the case. I hope we do get some rehashes as far as Tron, as far as Dragon's Lair. Bring some of those back for all of the people out there that didn't get a chance to actually get that, So bring those cabs back. That'd be awesome. And maybe get a legit Turtles cab. That'd be okay. Wouldn't be mad about that. But I think we need to see that mix of new games. Let's bring some of those new games in. Some 80s titles, some 90s titles. What is out there that can be capitalized on? And that is the biggest challenge for Arcade1up / Basic Fun. Now that Basic Fun has taken over some of the arcade brand or the arcade arm of what Arcade1up was, now there's the big challenge. We've seen what you could do with your Ultras. Now you've made some acquisitions with Arcade1up. Now what you got to do is make it worth our while. And that may be the biggest challenge of all. Everybody, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. Come right back here tomorrow. We're going to be streaming all week long because that's what we do here at the end of the year. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. You have a blessed day, and I will see all of you right back here next time. Peace.